Good evening. I'd like to call the Saratoga Town Board meeting in session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Amen.
Hello, Roger. All right, we'll get started here. I'm going to shut my phone off, I'm sorry. All right. Updates since the previous meeting. Constable, not here. Building inspector, not here. Zoning administrator. As acting zoning administrator, I'd just like to state that we had an entity that was going to apply for a commercial permit to build storage containers, but that permit has been withdrawn at this time due to wanting to resubmit it to the state under a different entity. So that is being said, and then we are working on the driveway ordinance. We now have Doug back, and I would like Doug to take a look at the driveway ordinance also. Okay. And it will be going to the Plan Commission for their review again next week.
Draft number 5, I believe.
Yep, I believe you're right. So that will be reviewed at the Plan Commission and by Doug, and then we'll entertain changes or advice from all above. And we have 2 positions that are opening up on the Plan Commission, and those are in the process of being filled. And I think that's all I have as a zoning administrator. We've had people calling in regards to building here in the town of Saratoga, both commercial and residential, so that's encouraging. And I've given them copies of our zoning and areas where they can build. I think that's about it as a zoning administrator. Anybody have any questions? Okay, moving on, road crew. Caston and Tom were out plowing all night, so Caston asked to be excused from tonight's meeting, and of course that was granted. There was no problem there. Plan Commission, Josh?
You said it, we're working on the driveway ordinance. I believe this draft number 5 we're gonna be looking at the next meeting. And there are 2 positions that are open right now, right?
Yep.
On the Plan Commission, so anybody that's interested, get a hold of Paulette or
Yep, I
Lorelei
can
or,
pass that on to you guys then.
Yep.
right?
Who's stepping off the board?
Be Gordy Whipperforth and Nancy Cook. Those are the 2 positions that are open. Anybody have anything else for Josh? Any questions? Okay, moving on, clerk?
Yep. Finished the election yesterday. Thankful that I have a great group of poll workers. I have a great deputy clerk. Thankful for the road crew for doing what they could to keep the sidewalk as clean and non-slippery as possible, and to do what they could to keep the parking lot cleared the best of their abilities when there were cars constantly in and out all day, so.
Good deal. Did we have a good turnout?
1,096.
That's pretty
So-
darn good for a primary, I think.
Yep, so next will be August.
Yeah, nice. Well, I don't know, that one, oh, August is gonna be okay. It's our
November.
November one that's
Yep.
gonna be hot.
Yep, so.
All right, anybody have any questions for Paulette? Okay, let's move to the treasurer, Billy Joe.
We still have 134 dogs not licensed in Saratoga. I do realize some probably have passed and owners don't realize to contact us, so they're still on the report, but I will get that narrowed down. And I did get the $150,000 CD from Paper Cities at 5% interest for
Wonderful,
11 months.
wonderful. That's amazing. How much money is that gonna give us for interest, do you think, about?
I don't even want to say right now because I can't think. I need my adding machine.
All right, all right. I know it was quite a bit though, right? And you checked it out with another bank and this was the best interest.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you for doing that for us. Anybody Anybody have any questions for Billy Joe?
That was at 5%,
Mhm.
so 7,500.
Okay. And then I did, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, we had a resident that actually watched the board meeting and actually gave me a call and to bring up another bank, but it was a credit union
Okay.
that we can't use, but it was nice that they're listening and they were
So
giving us
this
ideas
is
and I
good.
thanked them for it, yeah, absolutely. And Chase gave me the idea of the paper cities, which we already had an account there, so it worked out really well.
Great, great. I love it. This recording of meetings and people actually calling all of us, this is great. I know we've all gotten calls on our new phone system, and I think that's really, really good. All right, informal announcements by board members. We'll start with Brian again. You get hit because you're on the end.
That's fine. Speaking about people calling in after watching the video, I had a concerned citizen at Saratoga after reviewing our meeting from last time. Had some brief, I guess,
Comments?
little tidbits that he wanted shared. About the Kester Road, he does agree that it does need to be worked on and fixed. But only being about a dozen houses on there, he noticed that we were talking about a lot of money
Oh, yeah.
for a dead-end road. And I'm agreeing, it does need work. And I know if this other entity is going to help with a turnaround for fire trucks or dump trucks, garbage trucks, it will be beneficial, but I'm in agreeance that we don't need to spend our whole budget on a dead-end road. They also brought up the battery storage, and I know that's a hot topic for all of us. I've actually had a city board member from Nakusa talk to me today about the fire chief coming to him about concerns with it also.
Oh, yeah.
Things that were brought up in the conversation was groundwater issues possibly. If there is a fire with chemicals being dumped on there, constant watering to get the temperatures down, where's all that water going?
Right.
Is it built with a bladder underneath? Nobody knows anything about it. And what fire protection or proofing is there with these things? And then also with the fire trucks, if it did happen to happen, there's one way in, it looks like, and only one way out. So how are they gonna get in and out constantly with tanker trucks, which you'd have to bring in because there's no hydrants? I think it'd be something good that I know other people in the community have been talking to. The fire chief has also been talking about also having a meeting with everybody involved and trying to get more information about this battery storage.
Great, yes, I know it's a real,
So,
Follows.
and I know it's coming up, and we're gonna be talking about it, so I think that's what we need to work on.
okay. Sounds good, thank you.
Yep.
Josh?
I just have one question, I don't know if anybody here can answer that, but there was a high-capacity well that was installed when the solar project was that removed?
I
Or
think
was
it was closed, I think it was capped.
That's a test well.
Is it a
There's
test well?
Would there be access to water there?
The problem is they put that on the west side
Yeah.
of their
Oh.
range line, I
The wrong
believe.
side of the battery?
So it's nowhere near those battery
Okay.
storage.
But I actually thought that was capped,
I think they did cap it.
and they just installed a different well.
There's several wells out there, is there not?
Yeah, but we need one like right next to the battery.
I was just wondering
Yeah.
if that was an access point for water if we needed it, but I don't know.
It's a long ways away though.
Right.
Yeah, that one is over on the other side of.
Where would be the nearest
Well,
water
the
source?
nearest one that I was told is right across the bridge, and that's where they'd have the Nakusa Bridge,
Yeah,
that's where they'd have to run
So it's
back and
closer than
forth
that.
to,
yeah.
so.
So there's one right on the corner of Blue Ridge and Range Line, and then there were other monitoring wells put in out there on that
Yeah.
facility, so it's probably something that should be looked at through town records where they're at.
How big are those monitoring wells, though?
6 inch, yeah,
6 inch? Okay.
Roger's correct. Okay.
I just said, that was something I just thought of when Brian was talking. Other than that, I got 2 complaints about mailboxes being down. I asked them if it was the heavy snow that took them down, or if they had, was there paint transfer, or what, you know, did we actually hit the mailbox? If we did, then let me know. If we didn't, then there's not really anything we can do. That's heavy snow, so. They were gonna check for dents and paint transfer or whatever. But, that was 2 complaints. I got 3 people called that said the road crew was doing a great job, and, good job. Keep it up. That's all I had.
Did have a few calls on the brush cleanup that they're doing, and some complaints still about stuff being in the woods. I think we gotta go back and take another run through that and get some of those piles out that were pushed in. And then did handle a complaint about, those trucks bringing in the battery storage, coming in off of 10 Mile instead of Blue Ridge. Called 4 people at Alliant and finally got through to somebody. They said they're going to change communications a bit and try to make sure they've got the right route, but,
I did talk to the gentleman that was supposed to be in charge of where the trucks are to go.
Yep.
And I expressed our concern about them going on 10 Mile.
this is while you were gone, actually.
Okay, so it's
this
probably
was-
been
This was
taken care of.
after
Oh,
that,
okay.
and we had to call again while you were
Oh.
gone there. So just while you were down in Florida.
I should have left
So-
a contact number for you, I'm sorry.
Well, we went through a couple guys, and I did get a
Okay.
contact eventually.
Oh, good.
So, they've been reminded, but it's something
Wow.
we should kinda keep track of.
Yeah, going across that bridge is really rough. I don't think we want those heavy trucks going across that bridge.
Yeah, I don't
On
think we
range
want them
line.
going down in the gully, period. There's people who fish off that bridge and everything
So what
else.
bridge are they gonna go across?
They're supposed to
Range
go
line.
down Blue Ridge and then come back, instead of going down 10 Mile and coming down Range Line across the bridge.
Oh, that bridge, that's a wooden bridge.
Yeah, I know,
It still passes the standards of the DOT,
but semis with
But
loaded.
it's narrow, it's got a curve, it's going down a
but
hill.
Blue Ridge is better to come down because
Yeah.
the road is.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's been approved, and that's, if they
That was-
do damage, then that's what,
They need to follow the approved routes.
right?
Right,
So-
I have a feeling they're following a GPS, and the GPS is taking them down that way.
I
but-
think if you talk to the right person and you tell them that Blue Ridge has been approved, they'll do that. Because there's no reason not to, unless they can't make that corner off of 13.
That was never
Everybody else
expressed
has.
as an issue.
Shouldn't be.
And Lorelei called about a month
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
and then I called, what was it, last week, Paul, out when we were trying to find that number?
They actually called me
Or
when
2
they had a
weeks
couple
Yeah.
trucks staged. And they were staged at the Quick Trip. And they said, we don't know what's the approved route, because we got chewed out for going down 10 Mile.
Yeah.
And I said, the approved route is Blue Ridge.
So they didn't get communicated to, so
Right.
you're just gonna have to tell them that Blue
Yeah.
Ridge is the. I
So if it-
can't see any reason why they wouldn't go Blue.
I guess if anybody does see them go down 10 Mile again,
Yeah,
we need to hear so we can address and
okay,
talk to them again. But that's all I have.
that's it. Okay, Roger?
Pretty much the same
Okay.
concerns that the other board members were called with. The biggest, probably with them containers, bringing them down, they're also cutting wide on the corners, down into the ditches up on the road, so I don't know if we're gonna have any compromise with our roads. Kester Road, it was recommended that if you're gonna do something with it, maybe pulverize it and leave it gravel, save costs. Had some conversation on the right-of-way clearing with Lorelei and Caston, and need to monitor how to handle that plan moving forward, along with the Firewise program, and keep things in order, so. Gotta follow the grant the way it's written,
All right.
it's all good.
Anybody have any questions for each other, clarification? All right, we can go back to Brian with Kester Road. So Kester Road is not like a one-year project at all. It's like a 3 to 4 year project, because if we're gonna fix that road, and it's been on the agenda to be fixed for years with previous boards and administrations, I was not suggesting at all that we take all of our road money for 1 year and put on that road. It's a long-term project, and the reason that I suggested contacting this other entity was because if we can get at least the engineering done with help from someone else, that's a very big cost. So if we start there, that's something that we can use going forward. We do have roads that are slated and, to be done every year, and that was not one of them. But this came up because of, the issue that someone may help us cover some of the costs. So that's kind of how it came forward.
Who is that individual?
The individual that's moving out there happens to be part of the Ho Chunk Indian Nation, so that's who we're gonna be contacting.
Do you have a name?
No. No, I do not. I do have a contact that, well, one of my board members, and then Doug has a contact that we can utilize with the Indian Nation, so we'll be contacting them through these guys, because they have more knowledge than I do on that subject.
So they own land down there and they're possibly.
Oh, not the Indian Nation owns land.
Okay, so who's the one interested in them possibly looking at the cul-de-sac and what we might do with that? You had referenced that someone was
Oh,
interested.
I don't know her name, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
I don't have that with me.
Thought
yeah.
maybe you did,
No, I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry.
that's fine.
No, it's a private individual, but I don't have her name here. But when we are approached by somebody who will help us, I would like to get clarification on what kind of help they're talking about, and then how we can proceed to go forward on a project that has been slated by the town, that it's in need of repair, and truly, does it need to be done this year? No. But in the future, in the forthcoming years, it will have to be, and if we can do it step by step, I think that's the route that we should look at. So, that's how it came up. As far as the battery storage, Brian, I appreciate you bringing those items up, because those have been a real hot topic. And now that we're talking about that, what I would like to bring forward is that I had one of our plan commission members come into my office and make a suggestion that we invite neighboring municipalities to discuss this. And I thought, I'd like to expand on that. So I made some phone calls yesterday, last night, and today to neighboring municipalities and fire departments, and tentatively would like to have a meeting here in the town hall for the 25th of April for the boards, the fire departments that are involved. I would like to get the Towns Association involved. I'd like to get some of the county members involved. I don't want it to be open to the citizens, because I don't want it to be a complaint session. I want it to be where the members of the boards, they're bringing their concerns from their citizens, and the fire departments are bringing their concerns, and I'm hoping the Towns Association will help us with concerns, and I also invited them to contact their attorneys, and maybe their attorneys would want to be in attendance just to hear what they're hearing, so if anything came out of that. I want to get permission from the rest of the board to do this. I have not. I told them that this was tentative, and that if we were gonna go through with this, I'd send out a physical invitation, so that's kind of something I want you to think about. We'll talk about it a little later when we talk about solar batteries. Let's see, what else was I gonna bring forward as a board
So
member?
if you thought you had a resource within the town that, you know, where do you get the farthest with sometimes with grassroots initiatives? If you thought you had somebody that was a resource to this battery storage situation, you wouldn't want to bring them into that meeting, even if you thought that they were gonna be respectful?
Well, the individual that brought this to me will be invited, but yeah, not a citizen, no. No, and I already talked to the individual, so they know who it is. So, I don't think I have anything else, so I think we can proceed unless anybody has questions for me. Okay, Roger, any more? Anybody in the audience? Okay. Let's move forward. Approval of previous minutes, please. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
I wasn't here for this meeting, but, paragraph number 6 on the second page, just, I think that's a typo. No more than a year, instead of more, no more thank a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just take the
Dan,
K off there.
take off the K.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with that typo fixed on there.
Okay. I have a motion by Chase. Do I have a second to approve the minutes of March 20th?
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Chase and a second by Brian to approve the minutes of March 20th, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Those
abstain.
against? Motion passes. Can you make a note that Josh abstains due to the fact that he wasn't in attendance? Okay. All right. Preparation of road beds for 2024. Chase, we were gonna discuss this, and I'm glad that Doug is here now. So I'm gonna let you kinda lead the discussion on that.
Yeah, I'd just like to make sure we get the road bids out earlier this year. I'd like to try to do them first meeting in next month if we can.
Okay. I
So-
think what we had on there was seal coating on, I'm just doing this off the top of my head, 64th and Bell, and then mill and pave, mill.
What section is 64th?
There's a couple. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She came prepared.
Can you see the, lined out there, Douglas?
Yeah, I'm trying to look. Yeah, we had mill, there's 3 miles there to mill and pave, and then chip seal. I don't see chip seal on here. Oh, yeah, here we go, here we go.
What do you think that we can, put out for bids? Not
Well,
for
you wanna
bids,
do your
but I
chip
mean
seal-
for,
You wanna do your chip seal now,
okay,
which I know Bell and then 64th were two that we were looking at, you know, we've got Evergreen, we did that last year.
Well, and depending on the section of 64th, it's gonna need quite a bit of crack filler.
Yeah, and 64th, I'll look at that, but it's the piece, we paved that about 5-6 years ago.
Okay, so you're talking between Tower and Evergreen?
Most likely.
Okay.
I think there's 2 miles there, and then Bell.
Okay, that might be all the way to church then,
Yeah, I think it's all the way to church, and then Bell has,
or all the way to Mill, sorry.
I'm doing it top of my head, I know Bell has been paved quite a few years ago, that should be
Okay.
chip seal. So I'll take a look at them.
Okay, so you're not talking up on the town line end of it then? That section's got really bad cross cracks and it's.
No, Bell has been paved a few years ago.
Well, I meant 64th up by town line
No,
there.
no.
Okay, all right, just wanna make sure.
64th, we paved 2 miles, I don't know, how many years ago was it, Danny?
Yeah, it's probably 5, 6, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I just seen this when I came in, so I'll take a look at that, number the 2 that we want to seal coat. I'll get them prepped, and then, the paving and pulverizing paving, I'll get back and we'll talk about that again.
Okay,
I'd like to see us get at Yorkshire and Camille Court, we put that on.
Over
Yeah,
Yeah, well, we could, I think that's on our road plan.
and I guess if we can get the chip seal
It
done
is.
this next month, I would like to see
Yeah.
the paving done, by that first meeting in June if we can, cause,
So Yorkshire, that'll be more of just a pulverized and
Pulverized,
paved.
right.
I don't wanna raise that one up too much,
Right.
because there's a lot of driveways in there.
Right.
I do know it needs some base strengthening, because it is cracked,
yeah,
but we'll do what we can there, so
Yeah.
that might be just more of a pulverized and paved on that one.
okay,
I think on Mill, we're gonna put a little gravel on there, though.
all
Like
right,
we've done in the past. Anytime we do that, we should do a little surface strengthening, just because it's the right thing to do. Trucks, more and more trucks, things like that.
I know we had to cut our budget a lot this year, so we're gonna
Yeah,
have to,
That's why I'm gonna say, I'll talk
we'll watch
about
our pennies.
seal coating, we're gonna do that anyway, them are the ones
Yeah.
you need to keep up on.
Yeah. Okay,
and then, I would like to see us get a little more specific on our specifications. Doug, I do have a,
Yeah, last year, we'll use the Black Rock too this year.
okay, I do have a sample here. This is not the exact specifications that
I thought
I'd
about
say we
that
should go
already
with,
last year.
but,
I thought we'll put them both in there so they can
okay,
do the same thing everybody else is doing.
all right.
So Chase, can you kind of take the lead with Doug, and then maybe we can meet up for money, and you can
Yeah.
see what we got?
Yep.
All right, that would be great.
I had one resident approach, that lives in Yorkshire, approach me. They knew that it was on for 2024.
Yeah,
But is that like a summer, is that June?
usually we
June, July?
don't, we wait till the frost is out of the ground, but of course, you know, we don't have much frost now.
Right.
Well, like I said, I'd like to see that bid out in June for the paving this year. You know, where we've been waiting in the past, to be honest, prices start to rise by that time.
I don't get so worried about it, but okay, we can do that.
Well, last year by the time we did Ranger,
Yeah.
that was too late to even
I've got a
consider
theory
bidding.
on that, and I think you know why I do that.
Huh?
I can tell you the cheapest prices
Yeah,
always end
I'm
up
trying to
right
get the
around,
cheapest price is what I'm trying
right
to
around
get.
mid-April and can go into early June.
Yeah,
but-
until after the first bid, and then everybody figures it out, and then they start adjusting.
Yeah. But,
But yes, I will.
okay.
Sounds good, thank you, both you guys. Anybody have any other questions for road? Review these guys? I'll try to figure out what the budget's gonna be and how much money you guys are gonna get to do this.
You know,
We might have to, I know we're gonna have to take some from somewhere because we really,
I think we're gonna be hard pressed to do 3 miles a mill. Maybe we'll be able to knock out a mile or two and then keep working on that next year. But if we're gonna do Yorkshire and that, I think, I really doubt we're gonna have
I know
enough to do it.
I know Mill has, the first 2 miles, I think, are in need, and then there's a mile in between there that's pretty good. And then the second mile, we maybe just leave that
that second.
second mile,
Yeah.
or the third mile, and do the first 2, so it's consistent.
Okay.
That sounds like a plan. Brush grinding at the transfer site. Okay, so this has to do with the CWPP bid. The grant that we received, we are a little over. So in talking to, I had Amy come in my office and we had a discussion, and she felt that if we did the road right-of-ways by hand that we had talked about and agreed to in our grant, that we could forego the brush cutting for this year. And the brush cutting, what the brush grinding was.
Brush grinding services.
Yeah, I'm
right?
sorry,
Yeah.
brush grinding services, those were gonna be to have a company come into our, what do they call it? Transfer site.
Brush site.
Brush site,
Brush
yeah.
site, and actually grind that up. But Caston agreed that it's not at a point now where we don't have room to still bring stuff in, so I think we should let that go, because that was a $1,500 rate, but our grant was for $10,000, and we did get billed already for the right-of-way cleanup, and that was $11,592. Yes, Doug?
I don't know how much brush you have at the transfer site, but we used to get that gentleman from Auburndale. Danny, do you remember his name?
Yeah, door horse.
This is the same.
Dorhorse, and
Yeah.
he used to do it for the material, and he used to take it to the Nakusa Mill.
Unfortunately, he gave us a bid of $3,500. The cheapest was
Yeah.
Kafka out of Marathon City, and he was gonna do it for $1,500. But we are so far over our budget that we were going to have for this whole grant, that if we can get away with not doing it this year, it might be a possibility of putting it on the grant for next year.
And I didn't know if they still did that,
Yeah.
evidently
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, we had a list, I believe it was Roger who gave us the list.
No, Rob compiled the list.
Rob Borski compiled a list for us for services, and we have a list of 7 people, and he had gotten estimates, and he had a very, very good,
Well, and on here, the Dorhorst would, they're $3,500 flat rate to deliver equipment, and then additional fee for grinding chips and hauling away. So it would have been more than that 35.
Every one of these companies, well, I know three of them on the list and a fourth one that used to do it for the material, just to get the material,
Used
but
to, yeah.
Yeah,
the rising costs of everything, you can't, they
Yeah.
can't do it for that anymore.
And
Yeah.
all that and where they tip their materials aren't, that's
Right.
changing too. It's a constant change of where they can take it.
Yeah, they gotta take them a lot farther than
Some of
what
them
they
have to
had.
pay to have it, you know, get rid of it.
everything's going up, that's just the way of the world.
You need a motion on that? or we-
Yeah, I'm gonna need a motion to either, go ahead with the brush grinding and take it out of the budget somewhere, or to delay it and leave it for next year.
Make a motion to, not do the brush grinding this year.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Josh and a second by Chase to delay the brush grinding until next, possibly next year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Discussion on solar batteries. Yeah, this is kind of a hot topic because, we have so many neighbors who are entertaining putting in solar fields right now, and there's so much information out there, but it's all piecemealed and it's all done by phone calls and texts, and I think it would be better if we could all meet. And actually, one of our plan commission members, and I'm gonna say Robert, came in and we had a nice discussion yesterday. Was it yesterday?
2 days ago, but
2
that's
days ago. I'm sorry, my days run together.
before the election.
And we talked about a lot of stuff, and, you know, we have to look at fire suppression and means of egress, that the fire departments can get it in and out of. We as a town didn't even have a map of where they were putting this system until 2 weeks ago, and it was brought to me by Mike Hargy from the Nacusa Fire Department. So we can look anything up we want at the Public Service Commission, but it's very hard to navigate. Rob and I both have done it, and it's just, there's a lot of information out there, but it's really hard to navigate where you're gonna get the information, what you're looking at. So, and then we gotta talk about fire suppression. Is it good to put water on an electrical entity? And then when you do add the water, you're running that chemical down into possibly the ground? Do they have a containment system? I think the unit itself is its containment system, but once that gets full of water, then it runs onto the ground and then it gets into our groundwater. That's the way I see it. But again, I have questions, and I'm sure my questions are not the only ones out there. So we're talking about fire and smoke detection too. Now, how do they know this? I mean, is it monitored by a company, or is there a person sitting there looking at the monitoring? And how often are they checked? I mean, and do we get reports from them when they are being checked? I just have so many questions myself, and I know that I can't be the only one that has all these questions. And I know I'm not, because Rob came to me, I've had calls from citizens, Brian's had calls. So I really would like to meet with other towns and other fire departments. And yes, it would be a meeting. I mean, I would want these guys to get paid. I mean, it's just, but I think it's very necessary. And the other towns agree, and I called the Towns Association, and they're trying to find somebody who can attend. And there is literature out there. Rob gave me a good piece of literature. He sent it to me via email, and I printed it out, so there'll be stuff that I'll be handing out. And I asked the other chairmans if they had information and pamphlets and brochures to bring them, but we also need to see the authors. Because just having somebody write an article, well, what's their background? Is it their personal opinion, or is this factual? It's kind of like a Facebook thing. You don't want somebody just touting off information if they don't have facts to back it up. So I'd like permission of the board to have an open house meeting on April 25th in the town hall for interested towns fire chiefs, people that have knowledge that would be willing to attend. But I need to get paid for the board members.
If we're gonna have more than two of us there, I think we are required to have this as an open meeting.
I think we can post it as I would like to get that verified. I don't think
The
so.
one thing we can do is we can limit or not even allow public comment,
Right,
but as a meeting, I think we have to have that open to the public.
Which I think would be good that people can hear it, just if they
But-
can't speak, they
Well,
can't
and
speak.
we
but
can make
sharing that-
put right on the agenda that, this is for public officials. You can attend, but only public officials will be allowed to speak.
could I have permission from the board to check that out? I really don't want it to be a volatile meeting. I want this to be an informational gathering meeting for public officials to take back to their towns. And I think if we start allowing the public in there, there's gonna be a lot of questions that have to do with their own little municipality, and I would like the people to take it to their leadership and have the leadership bring it back. I don't want
agree,
it
and
to
I
get too
understand
big
the
and clumsy.
intent, but I think you do have to check it out,
Can I check it out
Yeah.
with, okay, I'll check it.
because,
I agree, I think it has to be an open meeting, but it can be said right on the agenda that public comment is,
Not allowed?
and I would put the intent of the meeting, what your intent is,
Okay,
as far as this is for municipality leaders to bring this back
I'll talk to
to,
Nick,
and fire department,
yeah.
EMS.
I-
So I make it clear, but I think legally we have to leave it as an open meeting.
I'll check that out. You guys could be absolutely right, I don't know that. I would rather it not be that way, only because of the reasons that I'm stating. But,
I know the ability to make a closed meeting is extremely limited circumstances.
okay,
And it might qualify, but I don't
Okay.
think it would. So
Well-
look it up, I guess.
I'll check with Nick, but I would like to also, pay for Nick to be there and Larry Konopaki. I want both of them there if at all possible.
I think that's,
Is that okay with the board?
with how things are moving forward with that battery storage, I think as much advice as we can get there, I think is
Okay.
needed.
Then you got depth, it's a good idea to have your legal counsel there, so.
Okay,
And
great,
having both of them, I think, is fair.
okay,
I-
great,
Not to mention,
okay,
the one actually covers a lot of the other communities as
Yes.
well, so.
yes.
you
Nick,
need a motion on this?
Sure,
I don't know if you do or not, but I'll make a motion to invite, local officials and, emergency response teams or personnel to a meeting to discuss battery storage on April 25th at whatever time Laura wants.
5:30.
5:30.
Can we discuss just solar installations and battery storage, because
Sure.
they are tied,
Solar,
installations?
It's BESS, Battery Energy Storage
Yeah.
Systems is
Yeah,
what it's called.
that
so.
too,
you want to discuss it all?
yes.
Like-
Yes, the deal is that a lot of municipalities do not have solar.
Can we just call it
Field.
solar projects?
There you go, thank you. Okay, I have a motion by Josh, I need a second.
Do you want including legal counsel on that as well?
Yeah, put
Okay.
I'll second it.
put a comma, legal counsel.
I have a motion by Josh and a second by Chase to have a meeting on solar involving area communities, legal counsel, emergency services, on April 25th, 2024 at the Saratoga at 5:30. Thank you, Chase. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Okay, motion passes.
I think Rob had a question or comment.
Please,
Oh, go ahead, finish.
I'm done.
We're
Go
pretty,
ahead.
we're kind of at a pause point here, so.
Kind of the synopsis is that we have
4 neighboring townships that are in the process of starting solar, but we're already to the battery stage.
Actually, there's 6, Rob.
Okay,
I just found out last night there's a couple more.
well, the more the better, but our specific questions that we have with what we have going on here right now, you know, the water, the access, the groundwater, you know, fire codes, safety data books, who's gonna be in charge
Right.
of the inspections. That can all be brought up during this meeting, but
Right.
those questions our township needs to really get those
Yep.
answered by the contractor that's putting this together, or whoever the engineer is that's doing that. I don't know how much, I mean, those are ideas that we can share with that group,
Right.
but to specifically ask them for those answers, that.
But I
that
would like to
round
have the
table group-
specific questions to
Yep.
ask.
Yep.
And we're asking the ones that we came up with,
Mhm.
but these other entities may have other ideas and suggestions of questions that we need to ask also.
So after the meeting, we'll come up with a discussion point.
Absolutely.
And we will have a town meeting with the actual,
Absolutely, Rob.
okay.
That's the
that would
intent.
be,
One step at a time. Yep,
That would be, okay.
yeah. I would like to keep you involved because
Well,
you've been
WTS.
very instrumental in this whole thing, so I'd like to keep you in the loop.
I'm gonna study for my bar exam here pretty soon.
All right, sounds good, sounds good.
Another 10 years, I ought to have it.
Well, by then, I probably won't be here, so I'm probably lucky. All right, moving on. Pay the town bills. Does anyone have any questions on the bills that we've seen?
This is the shortest checklist I think I've seen so far.
That's because this was a meeting a couple weeks ago where the last few were a month, so you had a month time span of
Yeah, I
bills.
think this is the shortest since we started out.
Did we pay,
Which one are you looking for?
our attorney?
That was written
That's
out
this
this
month.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it wasn't in this time period.
Okay, I can hardly wait to tell people how good that was. Okay, we'll wait.
Make a motion to approve the bills.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Chase and a second by Josh to pay bills. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion passes. Can you tell me what Compass Minerals was?
That's like the salt
Fulton's.
sand.
Oh, okay. Were you a doctor in another life?
I still am.
You wouldn't happen to know how much of the salt we ordered for the year that we actually used?
I think you probably used it all, but I'm not sure.
thought you
Not
had
used it, but, because when you fill that shed, I think when I left, he only had like 50 or 75 tons, which is a load or a load, 2 loads to get in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we didn't go through
We didn't go
a
through
terribly
mine.
high amount this year. It was pretty.
As long as you can
mild
get
with
it in, that's all I would worry about.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we didn't.
And there's been other years where we've had an abundance of salt that we had to store through, and we've always made it work, so.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good thing. That stuff's about $100 a ton.
Items for a future meeting. I have a couple things. Of course, I always do, right?
Just a couple.
When we hired Tom, we had a third person that was part-time. I wanna know if we should entertain looking at that, so I want you guys to kinda think about that, getting a third part-time person. The other thing is, geez, I think that was it. Does anybody else have anything they wanna see brought forward?
Do you wanna elaborate a little bit more on that third?
Well, when Caston and Joe were here, then we hired Tom as just part-time to help out when we needed him.
Right.
I don't
It was
know
like
that he had a
20 hours a week
regular,
kind of thing,
yeah,
wasn't it?
it was like
20.
20 hours, so we didn't have to pay benefits. So now, so in this CWPP, grant, it said that we have 3 people that was supposed to work in the right of way, and we actually only have 2. But I think the grant was wrote when we had 3. So I would like to have somebody, I don't know if I would like to have somebody, I guess that's what I wanna know. Do we need that 3rd person part-time? So I want us all to kind of think about, do we need that extra help?
Well, and as part of that, I do know one of the guys we hired for on-call plowing was interested in doing some on-call help as
Okay.
well.
See, that's something we'll,
He works at, I believe, the mill up in Point, or Whiting, one of the,
okay,
and, he said he's got certain time where he's off and available, that he's not actually working there.
might work swing shift, yeah.
And he did express some interest in
Okay.
being able to do more than just the plowing, and just on an on-call basis, or maybe we can plan around that schedule for the week we do that or something, but.
Okay, well, I know that we might need him, I guess. So that's something we really do have to think about and talk about.
And our full-time employees are gonna have vacations and stuff too, I mean,
That's true too.
When you get into some of that road work, right, Doug, you're supposed to have a flag man. I mean, you wanna look out for the safety of our full-time employees,
Yeah,
whether you're working on the roads or you're working on the right-of-ways. I mean, you look at the money that we kicked out to do some of the right-of-way clearing. If we were set up with our guys and they have enough time to do some of that work, it's gonna probably be cost advantageous, but
Yeah.
I'll just mention that.
no, that's a good idea.
Now, when we've got part-time, that's an average of 30 hours they have to stay under, correct?
Less than.
Right, but if we have an on-call guy that works for 40 hours with us 1 week,
That's fine.
that's not gonna be a problem with something like that.
So at this point, I just want to put it on a future agenda, maybe next month.
if they work 40 hours 1 week, they can only work like 20 hours next week, right?
Oh, definition wise, to me that, I would say no, but it's definitely, are you talking for like medical insurance?
For, yeah, benefits. at
What's
a point where you
considered
have to-
full-time?
32.
Less than 30 hours.
I thought it was
or-
32.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
But
that's part-time.
It's usually
Yeah, oh,
average.
Yes,
is-
it is. That's how my understanding, talking with them in regards to benefits was the average.
So even if we had him work a full-time week and he was available and willing, it wouldn't affect much as long as we weren't utilizing him constantly.
To my understanding, but it's definitely something I would check into if that's the avenue you guys were gonna take.
Well, and I did want to bring up a couple other things. We did find another person work transfer site with Jeff. So, we do have that position filled. This is history. So when I was a building inspector, I started in 2012 or 2011. And what a building inspector is supposed to do according to state statute is to, when a house is called for an inspection, you go out and inspect it. And if the person that took out the permit doesn't call for inspections, they don't get the inspections. What the final result of that is, at the end of all these inspections, they get an occupancy permit. That occupancy permit in the town of Saratoga is handed to the treasurer, and the treasurer then starts billing for garbage. However, if a homeowner doesn't call for a final inspection, the treasurer, the building inspector does not issue a final occupancy, and the building inspector does not, and the treasurer does not know to issue garbage pickup. So, we noticed a couple, and from noticing a couple for the last 4 days, I have been going and researching my records and Josh's records, and we came up with, how many are there? 16?
At least, yeah.
16 or 17 entities who have not paid for garbage collections since they moved into their homes.
We're gonna confirm that once I
Yeah.
start going through the
Billy
system.
Joe will confirm my prognosis or my findings. So, but once she does, I have sent a letter to the attorney to find out if we can back bill them. And if they don't wanna pay it, if it can be attached to their property.
I guess I'm
tax
just
bill.
confused as your building permit lasts for 2 years.
Yep,
And if you don't call for a final inspection, it's okay? I don't understand that part.
Okay, oh, that's a good question. So, that's how the state statute is wrote, but, when it started out, so building inspection has only been going on since the late 70s, 80s. That's when the laws were put into effect. So, at first, if you didn't call for a final inspection, it was no biggie. But now, if you would go to sell your home, now it's a biggie. Because a realtor will say, you had this house built, can I see your final inspection? Because that proves to them that the house was following the UDC building code, the Uniform Dwelling Code here in Wisconsin. Another catch all to that is the bank. The bank will say, we can't give you a loan on this, we don't know that that was built to the code. So those are the two catch-alls. And at first, it wasn't really enforced by the realtors nor the banks, but they caught on. So now, when houses are being sold, that's one of the questions that are asked. And I've been called back a couple times here in Saratoga to issue finals because the builder didn't call for a final or the homeowner didn't call for a final, and they need that final. A building inspector has the ability to take apart walls in order to confirm that that passes the code. Have I ever done that? Not myself, but we do have that ability. Yeah.
So if you're paying for garbage, you had a final.
If you're paying for garbage, you probably had a file, yes. Yes.
You must have had a final.
Your name wasn't on the list.
Well, no, may I clarify?
Sure.
So working with the Wood County Treasurer's Office, a property that has improvements on it, and we look at how much the improvements are. If there's a question on it, because there is some out there, 10,000, 12,000, and that's actually a pole building.
Right.
Then there's no garbage.
Yeah.
But if it's, an amount that's a dwelling, then the county is automatically putting garbage and recycling on it. That's how so it's based on what Claude does for the the assessed values. That's what we're going by. Otherwise, there's no way to man it.
So what I did is
These are new homes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lorelei.
No problem. So what I did is I went back through my log, I kept a log all the time that I was here, and I went back, and if it was a new dwelling, I looked up the parcel number, then I went into their tax page, and I looked, because Claude, when they take out a building permit, Claude gets a copy of that building permit. So when they take out a building permit, Claude watches that construction take place, and he doesn't have to be called. I did. So when I see that the tax bill has went from $500 to $4,000, I know they moved into their house, because that was done. So usually I gave them a year of grace. I don't know if Billy Joe wants to follow through with that. She'll look at them too to verify my findings. So that's how we are determining how much they owe. Did they get a year of free garbage pickup? Possibly.
So who's responsible for that?
Is he on the
final-
list?
That's what I'm nervous about. Who's responsible for this final?
Your builder.
Whoever took out the building
So I
permit.
would not want to go back on the homeowner then if it was a builder's responsibility.
The homeowner can go back on the builder, but we're going back on the parcel, because the parcel is the one who had the garbage pickup.
And you may be able to put it under tax roll.
Yeah, and I have a
Yeah, they would
call
have,
attorney.
if it would have been done correctly, they would have been paying all along
Yeah.
anyways.
And your name is not on the list, Brian, just so you know.
Your wife.
I did a final on yours, Brian.
Now it is.
I wasn't concerned.
No, but, and I don't know. I didn't know the answer to that question you just asked, so that's why I sent an email to Nick to find out. How do we go forward?
Long before this,
Because see, we bill for services rendered anyways. That's how Saratoga does it. So technically, services are rendered. They've already received them, so it's not out of the ordinary. I just received a call from an abstractor questioning how, when we fill out their paperwork, when they fax it to me, I have to fill out paperwork so when they're selling a property, and I put our garbage and recycling because we do it for services rendered. And for instance, the Village of Port Edwards does it ahead of time. But I contacted the Department of Revenue, Wood County, and the attorney, was
Yep.
all involved. and its services rendered, how we see it. So the Department of Revenue said, I think it's for, and I'm thinking, think? So, but, yeah, that's services rendered.
We did have one parcel, to kind of muddy the waters. We did have one parcel that they built a house, they lived in the house, then they sold the house. So now, we're out that money from the original owner, unless we can track them down. But the new owner hasn't paid for garbage pickup either. So, and I did write that on the note.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, I didn't know about this, but okay. well,
Doesn't the garbage pickup stay with the parcel?
It does.
It does, but when the house is sold, we're not notified.
No, and then you got your, like your abstractors and stuff that prorate stuff, or an attorney in the sale of a property, so that's something to look into.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't,
Madam X built the house in 2017, and then Madam X sold the house in 2020. The new owners in 2020 still are not paying for garbage pickup. But Madam X didn't pay for it the time she was there either. So we're
So
only
if it got
going,
missed the first time,
yeah,
you got missed all around.
yeah.
That second owner shouldn't pay all the way back though.
No, the second owner will pay back to when they purchased the house. That's the way I see it. I don't know what Nick's gonna say.
and this started because a gentleman came here yesterday inquiring about a broken wheel on this garbage can, that he said the plow truck hit it. And I asked him if it was the actual container was damaged, and he said, well, the wheel's broken. I'm thinking, the truck didn't break the wheel, that's the snow, because otherwise your garbage can would be toast.
The garbage truck broke the wheel, cause I've watched him throw them back in the
Oh,
road.
yeah, when they drop them.
Oh,
The
that
garbage-
truck.
The garbage truck is what broke the wheel.
Oh, he thought the plow truck.
Well, maybe he thought it was a plow truck, but the plow truck wouldn't, if the
Oh,
plow
he
truck's
slams
gonna
it down.
break it, it's gonna break the whole thing, it ain't gonna break the wheel.
Right, exactly, that was what I told him.
That wheel
But-
gets broke when it hits the ground.
So he was requesting that he gets a new garbage can or they fix the wheel. So when I brought up his tax bill, I realized you're not even being billed for garbage and recycling. And I felt bad, but I said, I bet you're sad you came in.
Was he happy when he left?
No, not really. But he was smiling, laughing with me, so,
He's getting a new can, right?
yeah, she's got him on the list.
And a new bill.
And unfortunately, out of my control, I mean, it's the right thing to do, but
Yeah, when the
Right.
garbage can picks them up, I don't know if you guys ever seen it, these arms come out, they pick them up, they dump them, and then they get about halfway here and they go, whoop, and then garbage.
I never thought to ask him
No.
about that, if it was the actual garbage truck
I've
that
watched
did
him
it.
drop them from 2 feet, and I've watched the arm not stop when it hit the ground.
Oh, ouch, that really,
Slam the can and then slide down the can and,
A newbie. Maybe.
well, I think it's a hydraulic adjustment on the truck, but that's my personal
Could be a new
opinion.
driver too, I suppose.
It's supposed to have a limiting where it gets so far from the ground level and it's supposed to stop and go down slow.
huh.
That's all adjustable, so something got backed off.
All right, anything else anybody wants to put on a future meeting? Anybody in the audience have any suggestions, or board members want to see something going forward?
Okay.
Okay, so let's set a date for the next meeting.
April 17th.
How about the 16th?
So the
Because our
16th.
annual
Yep.
meeting is the 16th, so
Well, then,
We'd like to just tie it right in.
we'll just tie, is that all right with everybody? All right, so April 16th, after the annual meeting. All right, and then I would like to thank Roger for his time here, that he